Okay, now we're ready to make our bow. So what we want to do is we're going to take our ribbon, and instead of so many people take it and put a brad around the ribbon to make the bow, we're actually going to put a piece of sewing thread, and it's holding on one of Stampin' Up's itty bitty buttons. I use the itty bitty button that is the little flower. I think this time I'm going to use the little circle. Oh, that's the flower. Where's the little circle one? Here, just a tiny little circle button. Now these have coordinating punches that go with them that you can punch out cardstock and stick them on the back, or just punch them out in that size and put them on with buttons as an extra accent. Now to make the actual bow, it takes about 10 inches of ribbon until you get really experienced at holding the ribbon in place. Because what we want to do is we're just going to make a shape like this, which is like all the little ribbons you see for cancer research, Alzheimer's, all of that. It's just a little loop of ribbon like this. And that's what we want to start with. And it's going to take about 10 inches. Okay, and I'm going to loop mine over like so, get it even, and then I'm going to fold this in, and I want to see if that's how big I want my bow to be. That is a little bit large, so I'm going to make my overlap a little more. Okay, that's about the size I want right there. So what we want to do is, this is the part we're going to squunch up. That normally people squunch it up and put it in a brad and fold the brad over on the back. But we're not going to do that today, because even with this, even using the brad with this technique, still makes this pretty thick to go in the mail. So I've threaded a needle, a tapestry needle, with some quilting thread, and we're just going to put our button, pretend it's a brad. We're going to go up and through our button, and then we have our button on the string. Now all we want to do is lay our bow squinched up the way we want it. I'll have it a little bit smaller. Just kind of have to work with the size that you want. You don't want it too big that it overpowers the card, even though it is one of the prettiest parts of the card. Okay, and we're just going to put that around our ribbon with the thread, of course, on the back with your little button on the front. You can leave the needle attached if it helps you thread it through there. And I just usually wrap it around twice. That way when I pull it tight, it'll stay put till I can get a knot tied. Okay, and before you want to pull it way down and tie another knot, you want to get your little bow straight. Get your pleats the way you want the bow to look, like that. And the ribbon in the middle. Okay, looks good. Now I'm just going to pull it really tight. The quilting thread is really hard to break by hand, so don't worry about pulling it too hard. If you don't have any quilting thread, you can use a piece of crochet thread or some DNC floss or something like that that doesn't break. Okay. And there's our little bow, nice and stuck together. Now we want to fold our little ends and cut a fishtail. This size ribbon looks really good cut with a fishtail. It does fray, so it needs to be cut somehow. And if you don't like that frayed look, if that really bothers you, you can put a little bit of, after you get it cut like this, you can just dab your finger in some fray check, which they sell at any fabric store, and just dab that on the ends and keeps it from unraveling. Now I'm going to tie off I think I'm going to tie one more knot just to make sure it doesn't come undone. Snug. I trim that. Don't trim it too short. Right there's good. Now I'm going to take my little piece of quilting thread that I have left on here, and right where I want my bow to go, I'm just going to gather up this piece of ribbon so that it looks like maybe I wrapped it around there and tied the bow. And once again, I'm just going to wrap it around twice so to kind of hold it down. And I don't want to just pull this in all the way, I just want to pull it up a little bit. Just gather it up just slightly, and then tie your knot. Oh, got a little bit tighter. And just slide that where you want your bow to be attached. Trim that off. The bow's going to actually be attached with some sticky strip or score pal tape instead of glue dots or anything else, because that seems to hold it better, because it can come out a little bit away from just the center and kind of keeps it a little bit more in place. So that's about where that's going to be. But we're not going to stick that down yet, because we want to put our artwork on before we do that, just to make sure we don't have the bow in the way. Alright, and the artwork's just going to go to the side. If it overlaps the ribbon just a little bit, that is fine. Now you can pop this up on dimensionals, which I'm going to do because the card's already thick with this bow, so this might as well be stick out as far as the bow does. And I'm just going to put some dimensionals on the back of that. You can see I'm using my scraps for my dimensionals. You can use every little bit of this stuff. There's no reason to toss any of it away. Go. Now, being neaters, sometimes people will actually take their scissors and snip off these little tabs, but you know, it can't hurt to be on there. It holds it even more securely. So if it overlaps the ribbon just a little bit, that's fine. We kind of ties it all together, and then put your artwork down. Okay, and then we want to put our bow on before we do our sentiment, but I'm going to lay the sentiment there just so I can see kind of how it's going to line up. And I'm going to bring my tie down just a little bit. Oh, that's going to be perfect. Now I'm going to take some score pal tape, and I'm just going to put a little bit on the card. It's easier to stick it on the card than it is on the bow. And just stick it right across where your little tie down is, where your bow is going to be. And put your bow in that and press it down on the sides. Fluff it up. Okay. So you can see I got it stuck down. This is squunched up here in the middle, and our artwork is mounted, and it's mounted dimensionally. Okay. Now we're ready to put our sentiment on, and I put the sentiment on with just a swipe of snail, 2 swipes. And stuck it down right here. It's a little bit off center because it's not, you want it to be kind of centered this way, not this way. Put that there. And then I'm just going to use a few of the Stampin' Up pearls, the jewels, basic pearls. These are great. I've gotten hooked on them, these and the rhinestones both. And I have discovered that you can just use the point of your tiny scissors. If you got a pair of scissors that has a really sharp little point like this does, pick them up, stick the sticky on the back with just the point, lay it down on there, and then really press it down, because you don't want all the sticky to come off on your fingers, which is easy to do. Just get them lined up, and then when you get them right where you want them, just press it down. But yeah, these are great little jewels. I've got the rhinestones. I've got these. I hope that Stampin' Up will come out with some maybe colored pearls, like pinks and celeries and pirouette, some of those colors. Okay, and then just take your little flag and kind of round it up like that, so it won't be just laying down flat. We want to make sure that people see that it is. So now we're going to put our last thing on, which is our little buds. And these are going to go on with dimensionals. I'm going to be using some new dimensionals this time, not pieces. And we're going to put one on the back of each and pop them right up on the top. And just it really doesn't matter how they're lined up. They don't have to be lined up exactly like the picture on the back, but if you are a perfectionist, then you're going to want to line them up. And a lot of people I have seen actually go the trouble to cut these little bees out too. Well, that's pretty tiny. I don't usually do that. Okay, now we got our little buds popped up on the top, and all of our pieces down, our sentiment, and we have a nice square card. I hope you enjoyed today's project. If you have questions, please check my blog.